Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another video. So we just got the Bad Batch Season 2 Episode 3, and in my opinion, this was probably the best episode of animated Star Wars since the Season 1 premiere. It dealt with so many of the themes we've been speculating about over the last few weeks: clone loyalty, the existential crisis of Crosshair, the remnants of the Clone Wars, and the overall state of the galaxy. This episode felt deeply Dave Filoni and right out of the Clone Wars. It was dark, deeply unsettling, and impactful. I loved it. So no more jibber jabber, there's a lot to break down, let's dive straight into it. Our episode starts on a planet called Desix, which looks a lot like Geonosis, where we see the daily life of workers who are under the rule of a Separatist holdout called Tawni Ames. There are a few plot twists concerning her backstory that I really didn't expect. She is visited by the Empire in the form of a new governor called Groton, and he is there to relieve Ames of her title, but she resists, saying that Desix is not under Imperial jurisdiction, and she wants her planet to remain independent. Now this character is fascinating, because while at first she's portrayed as a powerful Separatist remnant, later in the episode, we learn this was not always the case. Along the way near the end of the war, she realized that Count Dooku was right about the Republic, that someday it would turn into something much worse. So until this point, she was firm on defending Desix from the tyranny of the Empire. But the Imperial regime does not give a toss. It takes whatever it wants, any world, any system. It invades, conquers, and oppresses. And in this way, the episode was reminiscent of the Andor show, when the Empire took over Ferrix. As I say guys, they occupy wherever they please, and this time, it was Desix's turn. They would not allow an autonomous leader like Ames threaten Palpatine's outreach. Palpatine wanted the entire galaxy. He would not allow anyone to have their own position of power. Now probably the most interesting thing about Mistress Ames is that she mentions she was a colleague of Mina Bonteri, who we saw in the Clone Wars. In case you don't know, Mina was a senator from Onderon who mentored and was friends with Padme. The two were very close, until Mina Bonteri started allying herself with Dooku's ideals and the Separatist movement. Bonteri and Tawni Ames saw the corruption of the Republic and where things were headed. They didn't know the full extent of Palpatine's goals, but she also mentioned the Peace Initiative, which also featured in Season 3 of the Clone Wars, in the episodes Heroes on Both Sides and Pursuit of Peace. Bonteri died, but her son Lux Bonteri is still alive. I really want to find out what happened to him. He left the Separatists after Count Dooku orchestrated his mum's death. I'd love if he showed up in the Bad Batch Season 2. And major spoiler warning, knowing that Rio Chuchi appears with Captain Rex and Bail Organa later in the season makes me think we're going to see other prequels politicians too. But the nature of Tawni Ames' story in this episode is tragic, torn between wanting peace and having to take necessary and uncomfortable measures to achieve it. So back to the episode. Ames stands her ground and takes Groton in as a hostage. The response from the Empire and Coruscant follows, but before that, we cut to Crosshair. He's living a much less glamorous version of the life he had on Kamino, and as you would expect, he is still loyal to the Empire. At breakfast with other surviving clones, he overhears them mention the Defense Recruitment Bill, which signals the beginning of the end for the clones, whereby the Empire hires conscripted recruits for every position in the TK Stormtrooper ranks. In other words, the days of the surviving clones are numbered, and this adds to the wider scale reality that the Empire doesn't care about them anymore. Crosshair is called into Rampart's office, and we learned that he remained on that Kamino platform in the Season 1 finale for 32 rotations. But given that he didn't tell Rampart that Clone Force 99 survived, it's very clear Rampart doesn't trust him anymore. So when sending him to Desix under the guise of a diplomatic negotiation with Ames, he will not lead the squad as commander. Instead, he is assigned to work with Commander Cody, leader of the 212th Battalion. Cody is such an iconic clone. He was vital in the Clone Wars under Obi-Wan, but we first meet him in Revenge of the Sith, where on Utapau, he tries to kill Obi-Wan under Order 66. He was loyal and his chip worked, but now, it's very clear his chip is wearing off. So after a very long time of not seeing each other, Cody and Crosshair reunite by the Clone Memorial Wall, which commemorates the Battle of Geonosis. Now from this moment on, every single interaction between Crosshair and Cody is invaluable, and gives us amazing insight into their psyche. For one thing, their ideals couldn't be further apart. Crosshair is loyal to getting the job done, that's all he cares about, doing his duty, but for Cody, there is something deeper. He's questioning the Empire, and this shows in his dialogue. At first, he's playful and happy to see Crosshair again after all this time, but he's not surprised the rest of the Bad Batch defected, and in a sense, he's got a glimmer of hope that Crosshair too is questioning. But his disappointment shows that Crosshair is still loyal when he dips his head after Crosshair calls clones traitors if they question the Order. To Crosshair, they're just like the Jedi, and this hurts Cody, and it's not the only time in the episode he's gonna feel this way. They set off for Desix and a battle ensues between holdout clankers under the command of Ames's T-Series tactical droid and the clones. During this battle we see so many callbacks to the Clone Wars, it's awesome. The appearance of the Droidekas, the battle droids, and of course the commando droids. These were elite warriors that were too expensive to produce in high numbers. They were stealthy yet powerful and way tougher and faster than your average battle droid, which is why at first Cody and Crosshair struggle with them, but eventually they show their mettle and defeat them. And they finally get to Ames, who has Groton hostage. She mentions the peace treaty we spoke about earlier and her quest for peace. Cody seems to relate quite a bit and gives a heartfelt response, saying too many people have died in this conflict. He realizes the Empire has caused all of this. I mean, just think about all the brothers he lost. The galaxy is in a much worse position than before the Clone Wars. So Cody promises her a peaceful way out if she just lets the governor go, but when she does, Groton demands Cody kill her on the spot. He refuses, but Crosshair delivers the fatal blow. This was heartbreaking. I was really hoping she would survive. The Empire is ruthless and brutal. I really felt Cody's pain in that moment. So as the clones leave the planet to return to Coruscant, more Imperials arrive to occupy Desix. It's over for them. Desix is going to suffer like Ferrix did in Andor. And I don't know about you guys, but amongst the locals, this kid looks like a clone to me. I don't know if that was deliberate or not. We might return to Desix later in the season. Back at the galactic capital of Coruscant, Cody asks Crosshair if the Empire is really making the galaxy a better place. He realizes the clones who stayed loyal are no better than battle droids. He says the difference between them is that clones can make their own decisions, and this is when Cody walks away. Crosshair answers systematically, doubling down that he's just doing his duty. After all, for him, good soldiers just follow orders. Cody walks away and the big ending begins. Rampart calls Crosshair into his office once again, this time assigning him on a new mission under the command of CC-1226. Crosshair is confused why not Commander Cody, and Rampart reveals that Cody's gone AWOL. Now this leaves things very open-ended. Where does Cody go from here? He just walked away without consequence. Or is this Rampart's way of saying that Cody was killed as punishment? I feel as though Cody escaped, and it's been a long time coming. Rampart then says, clone loyalty doesn't seem as advertised anymore. And I don't know if you noticed, but a powerful small detail is that Rampart refuses to call clones by their names. He addresses them by their numbers. To him, that's all they are, disposable numbers, whose time is almost up. The beginning of the end for the clones has begun, but what's next for Crosshair? Is he starting to realize that Cody was right? I think in this episode, there was a switch in Crosshair's brain. He's still loyal right now, but I do think there's a chance he's on the turn, unless maybe he's gonna double down once again. And if you remember guys, in the trailer, Rex calls the Bad Batch to ask for their help. Could this be to salvage Cody further? Overall, my dear friends, the visuals, the action, everything was spectacular, and they dealt with dark themes in a really great way. So I'm gonna give this episode a 9.5 out of 10, simply because the season has not gained its stride yet. It's getting there, but this episode was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. But share your thoughts in the comments down below guys. What did you make of season 2 episode 3? Share your thoughts down below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and if you want more videos not found here on YouTube while also getting your name at the end of my videos, then click the link down there in the description. But until the next one guys, may the Force be with you always.